When we put on a Grand Prix, there's probably 500 million dyed-in-the-wool motorsports fans who wake up and watch that Formula One opening at the start of a season. And to be heading the team that does that, you feel a sense of pride for yourself, for your family, the staff, the suppliers, but also Melburnians, Victorians and Australians. When it comes to the build-up to an event, you get to know and love adrenaline. Given that there's actually lives on the line from a CEO's point of view and a Grand Prix Corporation point of view, it's an interesting mix of operational as well as excitement and satisfaction. And sometimes, unfortunately for the competitors, the things that gets people excited on television is the crashes and the thrills and spills. When you think of big sports in the world, you think of the Olympics and the FIFA World Cup, but they only come around every 4 years. Formula One's one of those sports that is there 21 rounds a year, and what Victoria does and what Melbourne has done so revolutionarily is to actually monetarise major events and make it the staple. And now what you've got is a contribution to the gross state product of about $25 billion from a tourism point of view. And that's a big result of what happened in the early to mid-90s with the Major Events Company and the acquisition of MotoGP, Formula One, the President's Cup, FINA World Swimming and things like the Commonwealth Games, which has been part of my life as well before Grand Prix.
Pushing Powell all the way, will Powell get there?
As a 16-year-old, I was certainly more aligned at school to the sciences. And I didn't have much of a career idea. I went to some open days and I ended up at RMIT and studied chemical engineering, and I loved it. I loved the practicality of project engineering, project management, delivering things, making things and building things, and they were probably attributes that apply very much these days to the Grand Prix. And I did that for about 7.5 years and wanted to broaden my wings and work for an international organisation. So I moved up to Albury-Wodonga with my wife. I lived the dream making pet food. Had a redundancy in 2005 and we had to move back to Melbourne. And what I generally look at all the time is turn these negatives into an opportunity and turn them into a positive. And went to an outplacement organisation, and but a week later and 3 or 4 interviews later, I'd got this job working for the Melbourne 2006 Commonwealth Games Corporation. Then when that came to a finite end, because it was a one-off event, there was a job going at the Grand Prix Corporation and became General Manager of Operations. So very interestingly, it was a link between all the things I'd learned from my engineering days, my Wesley school days, my RMIT university days, and it all came together in this wonderful delivery of a major project, which is the recurrent event of MotoGP and Formula One. I was saddened by the passing of Ron Walker early in 2018, but what you then draw on is the great times that you have, the memories, the smiling, the lessons you learn from people like that. I had the privilege of working for Ron for about 6 years as I was Chief Executive and he was the Honorary Chair of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation. It was a wonderful privilege to work with him and to deliver and keep delivering his vision. From a Grand Prix point of view, one of the things we do is we want to be the best Grand Prix in the world. And educationally, Wesley sets itself to being one of the best schools in the world. And the skills that I learn and the dare to be wise, sapere aude motto is something that is with me and remains with me, and I'm proud of that education. It's amazing how the apple really doesn't fall far from the tree, because here we are in St Kilda Road at the campus, and just over the cypress trees there is the Grand Prix offices at 616 St Kilda Road. I had some wonderful memories rowing, and that was probably one of the best sporting moments that I had. Yeah, well, looks like a very old scull. It was probably one of the ones that we might have practiced in when we did start rowing when I was at Sindel. The only thing more nerve-wracking than delivering a Formula One event was making sure that you don't crash a rowing 8 into a bridge along the Yarra. The importance of developing relationships, being able to communicate with individuals, to have a level of diversity, to be able to understand what makes people tick is vitally important, and I got that out of my education, and I know that the boys and girls who are graduating this year and will graduate into the future are going to be able to get that grounding, because you've got to have a level of practicality. You've got to be able to speak to people, you've got to work with people, and you've got to deliver a combined and collective result and see where it takes you, and know and have the strength and inner conviction that you can either go out on your own, you can work for other businesses, you can transfer your skills and take all those lessons you learn at school into the business community. But as long as you keep back to the fundamentals of those relationships, those communications, those friendships, dare to be wise, and all the other things you've learnt throughout your schooling.